Gusto's people advisory trainings are designed to expand your team's skill set and generate. Oh man, let's talk about people advisory certification.
Literally, Scott could not go on script for one sentence. He almost made it. He made it to a comma, and we respect that.
So this is a $349 value that the Sons of CPAs have for you listeners to each get 9 CPE credits. It's a no-brainer for firms looking to level up.
Sure, payroll's important, but there's so much more to being a modern accountant. Now more than ever, your clients need extra guidance. They need help protecting their business, managing benefits, figuring out where to cut costs, working more efficiently, strengthening relationships with their employees. The list goes on.
The list goes on.
With Gusto, your firm can not only provide that guidance, but charge for it. As a special for Sons of CPA listeners, Gusto is offering these people advisory courses free for a limited time at gusto.com/training. That's at $349 worth of training. $349. What could you buy
free.
for $349?
Free.
Okay, what would you buy if you had $349 right now? What would you buy?
Ooh, that's a good question. What would I buy for $349? I would not buy weed. A new pair of Jordans.
There you go. So
definitely,
you can buy yourself a new pair of Jordans. Okay, we have a promo code. It's Sons 100.
Sons 100.
SONS 100.
So here's what you got to do. You got to go to gusto.com/ is that a forward slash or a backward slash?
It's a forward slash.
/training. Gusto.com. I don't know.
You know what it is, people.
Yeah.
Gusto.com/training.
Gusto.com/training. Put in the code SONS100 and you're going to get $349 off. I'm kidding too. I always say slash. Gusto.com/training. SONS100.
SONS 100.
Do you know where New Zealand is on a map? Let's pull up a map.
New Zealand's the bottom right of Australia, right?
Yes. At least he didn't say we're Australia. Most people are like, you're from New Zealand. That's in Australia?
You're actually our first guest from New Zealand.
Are those your kids in the background?
Yeah, sorry. Because we're still in lockdown. They don't go back to school till Wednesday.
That's crazy. So didn't they open the borders at some point and then close them?
Yeah, we were open for like a year, and then Delta came in, and then we tried to manage it and lock it.
I just flew Delta. I just flew Delta, and everything was fine.
Different Delta.
Yeah, not that Delta.
Which Delta?
Delta
variant. Yeah. All right, let's do this intro.
We don't have Delta.
I would like to see the Delta stock. How the Delta stock did the day that the Delta variant started going crazy.
Right, that with like the Corona beer, they must be pissed.
So, hello and welcome. We are all the Sons of CPAs. Join us as we question the current state of the accounting and tax industry with the next generation of professionals leading this space. We are the change agents in an industry fraught with money and inertia. Let's begin the Sons of CPAs with your hosts, Jason Ackerman and Scott Scarano. I make people uncomfortable by asking stupid questions.
I think you've already done that. For sure.
That's wicked. I'm so happy to be here, guys.
Thanks for being here. I think you said her name.
Donnamaree, Ryder.
And it's our first New Zealander.
This is our first New Zealander. Our second from that continent. New Zealand and Australia are on the same continent, right? I know you're on the bottom right.
It's definitely a good start.
So let's start with, would you consider yourself an accountant?
Well, I'm not a qualified accountant, but I have worked in accounting and within the accounting sector for the majority of my corporate career. We come from a really poor, low socioeconomic area within New Zealand. I'm one of 3 to my mum, who is a solo parent, so just her and us. We had quite a hard time. Money was really hard to get in terms of the fact she couldn't read and write. So what we used to do is dream about what it would be like one day to have enough money to buy enough food and to live comfortably and buy a car and buy a house. And so there were all these dreams that we had. And what she knew was that if we got educated, that would give us a great opportunity to be able to do that. So she worked really hard for us to make sure that we went to really good schools. And so we got educated, but she also made me promise when I was younger that once I got educated that I would give back. And so as I moved through my career, so I got a couple of degrees, an undergrad degree in business and then a master's in finance. I started working for government organizations and then global organizations. And what I found that there was a massive gap between what small to medium organizations know and what I knew from a financial corporate level. And I knew that the information that you get at a corporate level in terms of all the analysis and dashboards, it's really useful. The problem is that you don't really have that at a small to medium organizational level. And so I wanted to bridge that gap. So we developed Tania. And so, but what happened was I originally called it the Execute Reporting Assistant. I'm so glad I moved on.
Yeah, I don't like that either. That's an early
That's a lot.
2000s name. That's like
Yeah.
a name that you would adopt in the early 2000s. Tanya
That was early on.
is modern.
When I created her, because there's got to be a better way to help these smaller organizations that don't really understand, they don't have teams of accountants to support them. And I knew that it was just the basic information they needed because they still need their accountant. So the reason they still need their accountant is because there's a number of reasons why things aren't working in a business. It's not that they haven't done A and B. There might be 10 or 15 or 20 reasons, and it could be both personal and business related. And so, but what I knew was that when I was trying to help them, I'd have to repeat myself over and over again at the beginning to upskill them on where the business was at, like basics, like, what's your income to budget and what's a profit and loss and what's a gross profit margin. And so I just thought, if I felt frustrated and concerned about the fact they didn't know these basics, then how were the accountants able to help them? Because that gap of knowledge is required in order for an accountant to be able to step up and say, right, mate, this is where, things aren't going well. Let's try and work out how to fix it, and let's try and work out how to grow your business. When I did that, I called it the Execute Reporting Assistant. It was a really long-winded. I didn't even know what I was on then. Then, because of my background in RPA, which is robotics process automation, I know that when it comes to people, they don't actually.
What do you mean by you don't know what you were on then? I'm sorry, I got to interject. I don't know what I was on then. Is that what you just thought
really
it was too much?
long. Well, if you look at like Google or Apple, it's like one word, and I had like three really long words. But what I found when I was doing AI stuff, robotics process automation, which is like machine learning, I found that people actually relate better to this new ML and AI stuff when it's actually personalized, and they know it's a computer, but when you give it a name and you give it a little face, it's more fun to play with. And so then I started thinking about what I could name her. And so I named her Tania after my mum, because I thought, well, my mum tried to help me be more educated so that I could have a better life. And so effectively what we had built was trying to help small to medium organizations so they could make better decisions to help themselves, the owners and their families, employees. So we named her Tania. And because mum...
So can we say it's kind of similar to how Kanye just named his new album Donda after his mom?
Oh, really?
Yeah. Very good album. I listened to it again. It came out with a deluxe version today, but he named it Donda, and Donda's his mom.
Oh, that's sweet, eh?
Thanks, Kanye.
Yeah. I'm glad that he's on the same page. But when it comes to why I called her in terms of Tania, there's a second reason. And because mum passed away 21 years ago.
His mom only died like 8 years ago or something, maybe 10.
Well, he's gone through some stuff, eh? And I guess, are they trying to get back together? Or
something like that. Hey, see, you're a half world away, and
Yeah, well, I see.
This is universal language. My wife knows what that is more so than she knows the music. She's keeping me updated with everything else that's going on.
Oh, really? There's Facebook. I mean, Facebook helps you keep connected, or LinkedIn. He's not really on LinkedIn though. But yeah, so although she's passed away now, we still get to deliver that dream that we made up together. One of our core values is within Tania.ai is why are you here in Tania.ai, because we're striving to help others, and so you need to understand your why in terms of why you're a part of the team.
What are you doing to implement that or at least, you say that's your core value, but what are you doing to get that? Is it out of your people, out of your clients?
It's about them reflecting on themselves, our partners reflecting on what their purpose is and what they're trying to move forward to achieve. And that doesn't mean that they can't have their own personal goals, but there's a reason why you're partnering with Tania.ai. There's a reason why you want to work for Tania.ai. And so I think it's important that people understand what that is, given we have a really strong vision about where we're trying to take her.
So tell us what Tania does.
Tania actually connects directly with Xero, and she enables organizations and business owners and lead team members to be able to get their financial updates either using voice or just recently re-released our Tania chat. And so what that means is she basically goes to Xero, she grabs 30 sets of your data, comes back, and rather than you having to figure out what all the numbers mean, she gives you an update and helps you understand what they mean. What I found is that they learned through the conversation. And so when I was telling them what the numbers meant, that's when the light bulb was going on and they were like, oh, I need to focus on income, or oh, I need to focus on expenses, or my debt's too high, or my cash flow forecast at the end of the month is going to make me go into overdraft. Okay, I need to make sure I've got the facility available, or I need to catch up with my accountant to figure out if I can.
Well, that was a good point. So let's say somebody doesn't have a cash flow forecast and they're managing out of their bank accounts, and that's going to bounce. So at what point do those businesses need something like this?
There's a different level of education of people. So some people numbers are their thing and they love them and they can work things out. Some people just numbers aren't their thing. When they think about doing a calculation, it makes them sick. For those that aren't comfortable with their numbers, that's where Tania can step in and be like, don't even worry about it. You don't need to go and have a look at it. I'm going to explain to you what's happening with your cash flow. I'm going to give you a short-term cash flow forecast or 3 months.
Well, let's be clear. They have to be working with an accountant in order to get that data correctly. Unless they're already doing that, then they must be a numbers person, right? If this is the business.
Not necessarily. I think sometimes it comes down to cost.
I think that if they're not keeping up with their books, how are they going to be able to get something read to them that's supposed to
keeping up with their books? They don't know how to read the numbers in their books.
Right, but that's what I mean. Like, they have to be keeping up with the books. But
that doesn't necessarily mean they can understand it, which I guess what Jason was saying, because there's a difference. There's being able to reconcile your account and push things over into your financial accounts, and then being able to open up your cash flow, your P&L and your balance sheet and understand what they're trying to tell you. And so Tania is bridging that gap, right? Because what happens is that people use their accountants to complete their tax regulatory requirements. What we're trying to encourage is that everything lands in the financials from your business eventually. If you can understand what's going on, you can make changes so that it can turn out differently for you.
This is bringing up what about my team? How about they're used to filling out the numbers, they're used to reconciling, they're used to doing the tax return. They're not used to looking at forecasts. They don't. And I think this is the difference between, what if they use this to give them some tips so then they could advise the client a little bit better as a person? They got the AI working in the background for them. Yeah.
We've had that where our partners are using her in the morning, like if they've got a packed day, they just can't get to all the numbers in time, even if they could. They're using her to check up where the organisation is at. They might have 5 calls that day, plus their daily activities. And so what they do is they jump on, have a look at where the organisation is at, get a quick tip, then jump on the call with the client. That's where some of our New Zealand partners are using her in terms of their accounting teams. The second one is where you haven't quite got a fully experienced and trained accounting member within your team. And so they're still learning. Is this real life?
Yeah.
How would Tania handle those kind of interruptions?
Yeah.
See, if you can handle my interruptions, you could definitely handle the kids.
Save me. Hang on a minute. I'm going to go and get you to hang out with your brother.
Okay, so you're a CEO of a company, and then you've got kids, and it's COVID.
I think they're over it. because what's happened is that the briberies have run out. It's like, yeah, well, so you're going to, briberies last for so long. It's been a long time. Hang on a minute. If you guys be quiet, I'll take you to the park and McDonald's straight after this. Okay, so bribery accepted. We should be fine.
I guess you go to the park and McDonald's. I would accept that. That's a good.
Yeah, well, that seemed to be like, cool. We're at there. Like, our job is done.
You bought yourself some time. Now you have to deal with it later. And that McDonald's, I don't agree with that.
Yeah, so it's a really critical point because it's understanding the numbers that is the challenge, even if they don't reconcile or they reconcile. And so what Tanya does is she helps bridge that understanding that they don't have. That's really what we're focused on.
Bridging the gap.
Give us an example of something that Tanya says. How much cash am I going to have?
So she'll say, when I look at your bank account, I can see that it's going into overdraft by the end of the month because you don't have enough funding to cover. So what Tanya is actually doing is that she's grabbing like your cash flow data. She's looking at cash flow movements over the last 12 months. And so what she'll do is that if you don't have payables or receivables and you're just a cash business, she'll look at the trends of your cash, and then she'll say, what period would you like to base your cash flow forecast on? Because I think that's the challenge here, is that everyone can look back, but the actual magic is when you're able to look forward and start to forecast what things might look like so that you can make different decisions.
I love that you said that. I'm going to take that soundbite and use it. Just bridging the gap between what we know and what's to come.
And the challenge is that you can't help them to go forward unless they understand where they are and what it might look like going forward. So the history data actually does help you to look forward, but that's not it. That's not the only thing. You need to be able to then say, well, based on what we expect to happen, these are the decisions that we should now make. So cash flow forecasting, I think, has been underestimated. If you look at the large global organizations that I've worked in, cash flow forecasting was like the number one thing you did.
I don't think it's used enough with small businesses because they don't have to do it. Nobody's telling them they have to. They need their books together for a tax return, or they just want to know how much they're making. How do you get businesses to care enough about that?
The way that we're trying to approach it is that the larger organizations where they have employees, they tend to not wing it, because if they can't make payroll, all of those families, all of their employees' families are affected. We're trying to support those organizations to be role models, I guess, to role model and to be use cases to show when you understand your financials, this can happen. The smaller organizations that like are the one-man band type of thing, they're generally doing it on top of maybe a day job or a part-time job. But when you start to have employees, that's when you really, as a business owner, need to take responsibility for your financials, because if something goes wrong, the impact and the effect it has on all of your employees is horrendous. The
most impactful thing a business owner can do is hire some employees, because that's when they start taking everything seriously. Regular day-to-day small businesses. Second, you take somebody else under your wing and you're supporting them, you care more.
Yeah, you can't wing it. You can't pretend like everything's got to be fine, because you need to be able to pay their wages or pay their salary. I think the other thing is that, so they want to be bigger. Small to medium organizations are like, we want to grow and we want to improve, but you can't grow and improve based on how many likes on Facebook or Insta. So they spend so much attention on socials, and regardless of how many people like you, if you're still only getting $5 in the bank, you're still only getting $5, right? And so the social platforms don't necessarily convert to cash, which can run your business.
Unless you're somebody that's making your money on that.
An influencer.
An influencer, that's how they make all their cash. But not everybody's an influencer. Your business is not influencing anybody. If you're not already having people line up, then you got to make your money. It's interesting because we just had a new client that calls herself millennial nutritionist, and it was backwards. She was an influencer. Now she's a nutritionist.
Can I use it? Will she look after me from New Zealand?
So she's remote. She does remote people anywhere. Yeah, that's kind of
Wicked.
cool. Wicked.
Yeah, but it's understanding the value of knowing your numbers is what I don't think has quite transpired into the minds of small to medium organization owners and managers around the world. When they've realized how wicked knowing, like their financials are just as cool as knowing how many people commented on your last post or liked it. If you understand your financials, you can change things quickly to change the value of your business, right?
Yeah,
And
you
so
can't change the value of your likes.
yeah, or the comment. People will sit there for hours watching their comments. They've just did a post from their business and how many likes did we get and how many comments did we get. But in actual fact, if they did the same in terms of their financials, their accountants that they have alongside them will be able to help them smash it out of the park. They'll know what's going on in terms of their income. They'll know what's going on in terms of their costs. There was a couple of situations where people thought the number at the bottom of the P&L was the number they made. And they're like, why is the cash number, my bank account number, different from the number at the bottom of the profit and loss statement, right? And so it's just basic fundamentals of how your numbers work. And that's what Tanya does, is she tries to take them on that journey of improving their financial literacy.
So tell us about the pivot. What's the pivot?
Yeah, so the pivot is, originally we set up Tanya to connect directly with Alexa, which means that when a person goes onto Alexa and says open Tanya, Tanya goes in, grabs the information, and then she starts having a conversation with you. What we found when we went live is that although voice has matured from a personal perspective, it hasn't quite yet hit the business world.
US is not ready for that. Definitely not ready for AI to be up in our financials, I don't think.
From a user perspective, from a use case perspective of voice in business, at the moment it's really strong in the marketing industry. And so people can say, we're going to get the latest TV or phone, and so they could ask Alexa that. And so that is a normal. And so what we found was that when people started using Tanya, it was fun, but especially in New Zealand and Australia, we don't really have Alexas. Most people don't really know what an Alexa or Google is.
Oh, that's interesting. So it was interesting to them just to have the device, let alone. So you were probably sending those for free because they were cheap as a button, relatively speaking. Like I would get them for free. They would just hand them to me. Like I have 4 of them like stacked up like hockey pucks in my basement.
Yeah.
Don't know what to do with them, but I got them all.
Oh, you can send them to me. We don't get them free.
You want to buy them?
Probably cost way more to send it. Yeah, and so what we found was the adoption of the Tanya voice channel was not as we expected. We thought people would enjoy talking to her. They don't have to read financials, etc. So then what we did is we stood back and we realized in actual fact, in terms of the journey of voice, of AI assistants, everyone's still used to messaging like you do on Insta and Facebook and Twitter. And so what we decided to do was actually create a Tanya chat channel. And so effectively she's a chat bot, which has exactly the same functionalities. She has 1,500 different commentary pathways across your cash flow P&L.
Everybody wants the chat bot though. People love their texting and their emails. Yeah. They're going to like this. That's dope. Yeah. Actually, Ackerman, what's your initial reaction to that?
Just going back. So you say, Tanya, how are my financials? And she starts talking. She's like, oh, your cash is going to run out.
Yeah, we built a daily briefing. She'd just give you a snapshot for today compared to yesterday. She'll look at your cash. She'll give you a 7-day cash flow forecast. She'll look at your P&L, give you a comparison to budget, estimate your end of month.
I would need a screen in front of me to see that stuff. People like chatbots. I don't know. Ackerman, you asked about the voice. I wanted to know what you think about the current pivot.
I think anytime you can simplify something for a client and makes it easy so they only have like 3 things to think about, I think that's good.
Yeah.
Easy metrics. So simple metrics that they can look at daily, right? So when we had stats on, this is the kind of thing that he said that they created was a little scorecard, or they put the key metrics that the owner wanted from wherever they needed it. And they were able to see that daily on like a scorecard. So 3 numbers that they need to keep at their hip. That's kind of what you could train people to do with this. Yeah. And this is going to deliver that because it's pulling from all of said places to pull those numbers. So as long as
Yeah.
they're right, it's an on-demand thing, and it's not, okay, we're going to wait till our report's delivered and go look it
Yep.
up online and all this. I'm just going to go in and quickly open up this chat and ask a question. Think
Yeah.
about your team. If they asked your team that kind of question, imagine
You
the
guys should
time that
jump
it's going
on.
to save
Yeah.
an
Yeah.
employee. If you ask them these questions, Ackerman, somebody says, what are my numbers? How much did I make?
Yeah.
How long is it going to take you to look that shit up?
Yeah. Or if they ask you, can you tell me what it's compared to budget or last year? You know, that'll take them some time to go and have a look and then look at the two different reports, write down the number, come back. Whereas you can just ask her and she'll just be like, it is. The reason we kept it in conversational was
It's going to
because
change the world.
Why don't we talk about why did you start using Xero?
They have a level of service for partners that's superior to any other GL product. And what I mean is they care about the partner. They care about the user and the accounting firm.
They're focused on the advisor. They did some study that said if you have an advisor, you're like 5 times more likely to stay in business compared to if you don't have an advisor.
They give us 2 layers of people that we have access to, direct access to. And they can connect you with anybody you need there. The partner program, the incentives that they have, you can get reimbursed for co-branded marketing. Like that was unheard of, the $2,000 reimbursement. They have that. They have the discounts on their subscriptions for partners. Xero's been very consistent. They have special partner versions designed only for partners. And that's different. That's
Well,
unique.
and I think their other main thing for me is their platform is designed to work with other software. Xero tries to focus on what they're good at, which is the main general ledger, and then let other people focus on what they're good at.
So Xero plays nice with others, right? And it's designed to be part of a bigger ecosystem for your firm, and not the be all end all of everything, and then close door and close things off to others. Yeah.
So that's enough reason to use Xero. So why don't you go to Xero.com, sign up as a partner. So if you go to the top, it says for accountants and bookkeepers, you sign yourself up as a partner. You get free version of Xero for your firm. Go to Xero.com.
Check them out.
Just do it.
And
Go
throw
to
your hands in the air and yell
Xero.com.
Sons of CPAs with an S.
Just say Sons of CPAs out loud, and something good will happen to you. It's
It'll
like a
be
genie.
magic. Yeah,
It's like a
it'll
genie.
be magic. We don't know what it's gonna be, but poof.
Everyone, go to Xero.com. Don't just take our word for it.
in the first quarter of next year, what we're doing is integrating our accountants live.
So if we put that on all of our clients on Xero,
Yeah.
so if we were like, hey, Sons
Yeah.
of CPAs, what's our cash right now? And it could do it without us having to log into Xero. That would definitely be powerful for the accounting firm. Because you're right, we do spend a bunch of time. Someone's like, what's my gross income for last year? Or,
Yeah.
Dude, like we need that stuff if we're filling things out, like just for any reason, like just as the accountants.
So Tanya will manage the initial conversation. If there's more complex questions, or if they feel like we've given them a red flag. It looks like you're about to go into overdraft, or overdraft is extending. Do you have the facility? They know they don't. Then what she will do is she'll trigger the accountant either through their CRM, like raise a ticket and see if someone's available. And if not, then she'll just say, we've left a message for them and they'll get back to you. So it's about trying to service them so that it can be on demand.
how many people do you have working for you?
Not thousands. We have about a team of 8 at the moment.
Well, that's still a lot. So what's the hardest part about managing a team
Mine.
as an owner?
I think making sure that they're in the right place and that they know where they're going.
And how do you
Is that
Um,
in life or as on the journey of building this
Both.
product?
Both. And that probably more importantly, that they fit the culture of Tanya.ai.
That kind of brings back to your why, like how they fit. So practically speaking, what are your challenges as an owner?
My challenges?
Yeah.
I think at the moment it's the ability to scale up faster. I mean, we've just done a wicked as pivot. Anyone who has a Xero account can jump on and get that instantly, that update. But it's being able to add more people to the team, more power to the team so we can go faster. And so I've chosen not to raise yet.
Yeah, that was my next question. Like, do you go VC or what do you look to do? Is that next?
Well, I guess that's why we were looking to go to South by Southwest next year.
There you go.
We'll be starting to look to raise at the end of the first quarter. And that is because now that we've got Tanya Chat and we know the value that she can bring, we only released her last week. She has a ton of commands that we haven't released yet. So we're releasing kind of the base version, the foundation version. And then as people start to use her, we'll add in more commands. We'll have a little dashboard, like you said, like it'll have a green light, red light. Have you seen that? It's good.
I think, yeah, I know exactly what
but we won't shoot anyone. But yeah, so there are a number of enhancements that are coming through, including the fact that you'll be able to interact live with your accountant or your business advisor to get some advice around some red flags that have been raised by Tanya for you. It's critical that they're connected to their accountant. It's critical that they understand what's going on. Yeah, we want to grow fast. And so the challenge now is going as fast as our little legs, our current team's legs can carry us without being able to scale up.
It's got potential. I want to know though, what's the relationship with your accountant? How is your accountant helping you through this process?
I'm pretty self-sufficient in terms of our financials. You'd hope so. And so she helps us around tax. The fact that I've got a parent company and I've got a startup. So she's giving me advice. That's what I use it for. So we manage all the numbers, but that's what accountants should be used for. You guys didn't go and study, learn what we've learned to sit there and just reconcile.
Well, so tell us a piece of advice that your accountant gave you that was meaningful.
So for us, there are, we can transfer losses from the startup to my company if they're related. And so you wouldn't know that if you weren't an accountant. So that's one of the things. Otherwise, if you have them separately.
I am an accountant and I didn't know that.
Well, in New Zealand.
Do that in America, so.
Yeah.
I don't think you can do it in America.
But I think the value that accountants bring, right, to the table is being able to figure out what is the best next move to either fix or grow your business. So, for example, if a business owner looks at their financials and it says your income's going up, but so are your COGS, they're going up, but they're going up at a higher rate, then as a business owner, what are you supposed to do? But I'm all right because I'm still making money. But in actual fact, what would you say to them?
Got to raise your price.
But a person who doesn't know that, who numbers is not their thing, they will think I'm all good because I'm not making as much money, but I'm still making money.
Yeah.
So the value that the accountant brings to the table is having a different perspective on your business. That isn't just about getting from A to B. It's about being able to grow your business, being able to improve your business in certain areas.
So what about accountants? So I think that analogous to that is a lot of accountants have used situations that come up to save money on tax, not on the business. But I think, the conference that I'm at, most of the, traditionally speaking, a lot of the accountants that are here have always looked at what the opportunities or situations are when it comes to tax, not so much as running the business. And I think this could be true for a lot of accountants in the industry that do taxes.
But so, for example, you look at Tanya.ai. In the new year, she'll release her inventory-based margin reporting, which means that we'll give the owner an update on the different products and the margins that they're making on those products. And so essentially, where the accountant comes in is that a business owner has 50 products, only 15 of those are actually making money. The magic comes in when the accountant is speaking to the owner, because you're starting to have more powerful conversations, not about the fact that you haven't made as much money as you did last month or last year, but why have you got 15 products? If you actually only kept the top 10 and got rid of the other 30, you'd reduce your costs, I don't think it's about directing them. It's about enabling them to understand other options. we're trying to get Tanya to normalize the financials so it's not an uncomfortable place, that people don't have to put their heads in the sand, because putting your head in the sand, when you pull it back out, the numbers still look the same. If you're bringing them something that they don't already know themselves, that's where you start to create value. That's where those advisory services for accountants, especially within the US, they can really add
Sometimes
value.
it's also telling something to somebody that they already know, but hearing it in a way that they could connect with.
And they want to do better. No one wants to sit there and just live from week to week. You know, no one does. So what do you think are the biggest challenges?
I think accounting has a lot of stuff that you can do, and it's hard. It's not easy. We want people to be advisors right away, but in order to be an advisor, they have to learn how to be an advisor. That takes 3, 4, 5, 6 years. So
Well,
I think
maybe Tanya can help them.
It's
it's
the
like
training. It's the training,
you
the
don't have-
education. They need to learn that. And part of it's on the job training, like you're saying. Like it takes them 4 to 5 years, Ackerman, because they need to see real life situations so they can comment on them, because they only know their scope and their purview.
they're going away from, like, they know they have to do training, but they're just like getting rid, like they're getting rid of the traditional training methods of like basic bookkeeping, reconciliations. Like that's how you learn the basics. But they're farming those over is everything's changing really fast. You know, you've got these technologies, you have hundreds of those technologies, and how do you keep up with all of them?
A couple of our accountants are using Tanya to help upskill their less experienced graduates and accountants that are coming in, because they're trying to build capability. So Tanya gets to do what we talked about, which is kind of upskill their internal team as well as their clients, which is pretty good.
I would consider you a futurist. I've called other people futurists on the podcast, and they always deny it. Are you a futurist?
How do you define a futurist?
That's a good question. I don't know. I've used the term very loosely.
I definitely have a vision, and I've taken into consideration the current state to determine what I think the future might look like.
Wikipedia says futurists are motivated by change. They are not content merely to describe or forecast. Ooh. They are not content merely to describe or forecast. They desire an active role in the world of transformation.
So from my perspective, I'm trying to create a better future for families, for people who own small to medium businesses or work in them. Given 95% of small SMEs within New Zealand make up the majority of our business foundations, they hire a lot of our people. We have to look after them. And so corporates have got enough money to buy accountants and figure stuff out like this, but small to medium organizations don't. You look in the US, the majority of your organizations in the US are actually small to medium business owners that are slaving away. They hire at least 50% of the people within the states. You know, it's huge. If you don't look after them, you won't have an economy. And so for me, it's about ensuring that the future is bright for them. Because when you make it bright for them, you make it bright for the families, and then everybody wins. I don't get frustrated, though, if people don't adopt my Tanya voice. I mean, they didn't 4 months ago. And I said, right, that's my responsibility to figure out how to get them to transition to this new way of understanding. And so we moved to chat. So
no, it's killing a pretty big project that you put a lot into, the Alexa part. So that's a pretty big pivot.
The channel's still open. In 4 years' time, everyone will start talking to her because that will be the norm. You have to understand your customer, and they're just not ready for it yet, and that's okay. And I think I'd call myself a balanced futurist, right?
Okay.
Where essentially, if it doesn't work, then I pivot to make sure we end up where we need to, and not have my ego bruised because it didn't work my way. And I'm fine with that, because ultimately the goal is to help small to medium business owners, right? And so if we're not achieving that, if I just be stubborn and stay on, we're only going to have a Tanya voice channel, no one gets help. And so this way we pivot The chatbot is actually going to help not only our small to medium business owners, but also now our accountants. You know,
Gotta honor
because-
your mom. She wouldn't be stubborn, and or maybe she would be. I don't know.
nah, she held the ground in terms of the vision, but not the how to get there. And so that's probably why I call myself a balanced futurist, because I'm attached to the end, not to the how.
That's it. So what's our last question that we ask everybody? Give
Really-
all accountants one piece of advice.
So give one piece of advice to fellow accountants listening.
Stay true to who you are and what you know, even though your client may not think they need financial advisory or understand the value of it. While the client still thinks that you're only good for doing your tax returns and reporting requirements, they're missing out on all the value that you can bring to the table. If you continue to upskill them and educate them, you studied accounting for a reason. It's about time that you started to be able to make your mark on the world and be able to really, truly help those organizations that you have as clients.
Stay true to who you are and what
Yeah.
you know. For the accountant that thinks that's who they are and they don't want to change
Yeah.
their stripes,
I find that when people are able to add value, they become the best version of themselves.
there you
Right.
go. There, you've hit it right there. I like that.
Right. The reason why I talk about accountants striving towards adding value to the business, because some accountants just want to sit there and do the tax returns. They don't maybe even have the capability or capacity to understand
Maybe
the
they
numbers.
are the tax accountants. Maybe we should, as a firm owner, should be separating our
Yeah.
team out based on what they're best at or what they want to do.
Yeah. I think that some people actually hate advising clients. Some people hate talking to other people.
But being proactive is hard for some people. Like
Yeah.
actually calling somebody out of the blue and chatting with them is like pulling teeth.
Yes.
It is so difficult for some.
But why would you do that? But you could sit them in front of 50 tax returns and they'd go
Knock
home
them out.
and they will have the time of their life. They will feel like they've been partying all night and they've just had the best time. Like, stop trying to just fit into the mold that already exists. I was talking to our own CFO and she was like, I'm sick of month end. I don't want month end anymore. Month end's stupid. I have to spend extra hours doing month end. Why are we doing it that way? I'm going to do it differently. Tanya,
How is she
on
doing it?
about doing things differently.
How
I'll
is she
let you
doing it
know.
now?
When you give people the opportunity to change things up, they excel. Like, sometimes people just need
You can't let them change too much.
yeah. Well, you can give them the opportunity to see what's possible, is probably what I'm saying.
Donnamaree just said you got to let them have ownership over their work.
Yeah. I control the boundary, not the how.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
You got to
control the
control the boundary and how they're doing on the outsides and keep them in the fence. But once they're in the fence, they can play freely. Is
Yes.
the way I do it. They can't jump the fence.
Yeah, but I give them the ability to tell me if there's a good reason to jump the fence.
Sure.
So I say, it's okay if you want
Oh
to jump
yeah,
the
yeah.
fence. Convince me that jumping the fence is
Right.
or
And then
moving
when
the
they jump the
fence-
fence and they break their leg and say, next time you jump the fence, you better have a damn bungee cord or something. That you better be doing something safer. Better be jumping into hay this time and not rocks.
Yeah, well, people learn from their own mistakes though, right? Sometimes you have to let them. Well, you don't want them to break the leg, but
They jumped the fence and fell down the hill. Don't go jumping the fence without letting me know it's going to happen.
I don't even know what jumping the fence means.
it means like, if you set a boundary for your organization.
Yeah. I mean, but there's a lot of processes that might get better if
The
you let
fence
them.
is the processes.
If you have a tool that everybody uses.
Yeah.
So I'm saying, like, when anything in the fence, go be free, do whatever, make sure that we're still growing the crops, make sure that everything is still growing. Like, definitely, if your crops are dying inside that fence, we need
I
to
love it.
come in and work on this.
This analogy is really smart.
I love it. Go hard, Scott. I mean, everyone's different.
Yeah. Ackerman gets annoyed by it. So I want to read our latest review. These guys are the Beastie Boys of accounting podcasts, creative A+ content, and guests. Thank you, Christopher B. I appreciate it.
It's the
does too.
35-year anniversary of the first Beastie Boys album today. So tell us how we can find Tanya and you and everything.
If you just go to tania.ai, which is TANIA.ai, then you can click on the Try Tanya for free. You can learn about us, learn about what we're doing. Tanya is actually free, the Tanya chat. I encourage you to get your clients on there. I encourage other accountants to jump on there and try her out and take her for a test run. Over the next 6 weeks, we have a dedicated team to updating and enhancing her so that she's as awesome as she can be. I'd love to hear your feedback about her. I'd love to hear what you think she can do better, what can make it easier, because in the end, the vision doesn't get achieved if we're not helping. That's what I reckon. She's on, like Donkey Kong.
Thank you. It's been amazing. It's been great.
Thank you. Yeah, for coming half a world away.
Your kids are going to the park and they're going to McDonald's, and I wish I could go there.
They're about to, and the EFC, they've left me alone, so I've got currency right for the kids. Maybe we can catch up when I come over in real life person.
Enjoy your trip when you go.
Yeah, I will. Thanks so much for your time. Thanks for your listeners.